Well, good morning and welcome everybody to another video of Let's Play Zeus the Enhancement Pack, the final bonus video of this trilogy of bonus videos, the final new map of the whole game, in fact. This is not the last episode of the LP because we'll be finishing the Odyssey and seeing the end in the next part, but today we're going to be playing Open Play Sandbox 2, which is one final new parent city. Just as the original Open Play Sandbox went, there aren't any colonies or anything. So when we click into this, you guys are going to see the final map, basically, of the whole game. You know, we've seen every colony, we've seen every parent. The next episode at the end is going to be going back to Ithaca, which we've seen. So really, this is the last little bit of mystery, and oh boy, what a map it is. It's pretty insane. So if we return to the original selection of maps, with the original Open Play Sandbox, what they did was they gave us a reasonable amount of open space, and they gave us every industry. So for the enhancement pack, what could they do for a sequel for the sandbox? Where will it be? What will they do? Well, they've given us a bunch of cool mechanics. They really go ludicrously extra and give you everything you could possibly want in the new one. So yeah, let's check it out. Also here, let's one more time for fun. What have we seen for parent cities? Can I remember all of these? Well, we started with Zeus in Europa, which was Thebes. Thebes was our first place. Then we had Argos. Then we had Athens. Athens is easy to remember because Athens to the Aegis. Then the Voyages of Jason was Iolcus, I'm pretty sure. Tiryns was Hercules' place. That's easy to remember. Aulis was the Peloponnesian War, where we were against Sparta. Then it was the Trojan... Wait, no. Aulis was... No, we were Sparta in the Peloponnesian War. Then we were Aulis in the Trojan War. Then for the open plays, these ones are a bit trickier to remember. Larissa was the first. Then we had Mount Malia. Then we had Olympia. Also, special shout out to the tutorial, which was Megara, if I remember. Then it was Ithaca in the Odyssey. It's been Lerna in open play economic. It's been Eretria just now in open play military. The final map, what is it? Is it a repeat map? Well, no. It's a place we've seen and been interacting with on Greece a bunch. Let's see what they say. All is well in the world. With a pair of colonies to call your own and a cadre of allies, you have no shortage of friends. The beautiful, fertile land that stretches out before you will soon be graced with a city of your own design. This is called City of Heroes. Christ, that made me think of the MMO there. City of Heroes, City of Villains. What could be better? Though all is well in the world, is all well on Olympus? The gods, being the gods, will still ask favours of you, and a monster or two may be lurking just beyond your city's boundaries. Luckily, the heroes of Greece know your reputation and will not hesitate to help you should you need them. Look at this. This is like our victory lap. This is like all the other campaigns, the gods and heroes, they have seen what we have done through all the different ages of ancient Greece, and now they will reward us. So, speaking of Olympus, I'm going to play this on Olympian difficulty, the highest possible difficulty, because the housing block that I'm going to show off in a second, you know, what's really fun about it is on the highest difficulty, where fires can break out and all kinds of extra things pressure you, where you need the most amount of appeal and stuff. And besides, we haven't actually done any of the open plays on the hardest difficulty, so I've got to include that in the LP somewhere, right? So here we go. So to the city of heroes. What is it? It's Troezan. So this was a real anticlimax for me because I don't know anything about Troezan. So we have seen Troezan as a colony. When I say we've seen it as a colony, we haven't seen it as a colony. We've seen it on the map. We've interacted with it throughout various missions. We've traded with it. We may have conquered it. You know, it's been around. But what is the deal with Troezan? Well, I really didn't know. You know, it's definitely not as recognizable as Mount Olympus, or, you know, Olympia, as it were. It's not as recognizable as Athens or Thebes or Sparta. So, I went to Wiki about this, okay? Basically, Troezan exists today as like a small place, and on the wiki page, it's just got a bunch of boring details about the municipality that it's in, and how it's changed like districts and stuff. Basically, nothing going on. But then, as has often been the case when I've gone to wiki about Greece, it's like says nothing's really happening here today, but then there's like this huge mythology section. So this place is no different. Now, first of all, the thing I think that's most recognizable out of this bomb of mythology is apparently this is the place where the Pegasus first came to land on Earth. Where the first Pegasus was, I suppose. Actually, no, to correct myself here, it's just a place where a Pegasus came once to a spring or something. And, you know, I never even really realized that, the idea of a Pegasus being a Greek thing. But it makes sense, right? Pegasus, like Theseus, you know, it's got that sus sound that's very Greek, I now realise. Anyway, so that's one thing, but here's some other stuff, which really I don't get very much of. But Troezan, according to mythology, Troezan came into being as the result of two ancient cities, which I guess there's no real evidence for. Those ancient cities were Hyperia, which sounds awesome, by the way, and Anthea, being unified by a guy called Pythias, who named the new city in honor of his deceased brother. The brother was called Troezan, so he named the city after him. Does that technically make us Pythias in this adventure? Or Pythias' friend, deputy, cousin, whatever, you know? Troezan was where Aethera, the daughter of Pythias, slept with both Aegis and Poseidon on the same night and fell pregnant to the Greek hero Theseus. Not to Theseus, with Theseus. Theseus was her son. Before returning to Athens, Aegis left his sandals and swords under a large boulder in Troezan and requested that when the child was able to prove himself by moving the boulder, he must return the items to his father in Athens. Then when Theseus came of age, he lifted the boulder, and there it is. So this kind of feels like a progenitor story, or like an earlier edition of, you know, the more familiar, I guess, modern idea of the sword in the stone from Arthurian mythology. I wouldn't be surprised if, through the ages, one story inspired the other. For more conversation about Arthurian mythology, check out my Tomb Raider Legends Let's Play. So here's the really cool connection about Troezan. If we go back to the other maps, we have Jason, we have Hercules. We didn't have a Theseus map, did we? They never did. We had a Perseus one. Theseus is a hero. We've had one for Odysseus. Odysseus got the Odyssey. All the heroes have been covered except Theseus. Well, there you go. This is where Theseus was born. This was his home city where he moved the boulder and so on. You know, who could have guessed that? I love the thought that one of you's left a comment saying, well, I've noted that all the heroes have had cities and yet one final guy hasn't. So there you go. I guess that's the connection that impressions we're going for here. Speaking of heroes, so how have they upped the ante for this map as a sandbox map? Well, first of all, look at the open space. I mean, it's insane. I was talking about the, you know, the thicker grassland. Once again, it returns here for one final time. I won't have to say that again. But look, so basically what they've given us is just a giant, massive open field. And to give it a bit of texture, they've dotted some trees around, which we know we can clear. And they've just sort of gone with the darker grass here. This whole North Shore is completely free for whatever you want to do. Now, Olympia was pretty cool, but it did have that big, like, water feature in the center, which kind of interfered with massive builds if you wanted to do them. Well, here, you can go nuts. They've even given you a little bit of meadow with this overlap here as well, which is nice. So you could put a massive housing block here and feed it straight from the left. Just like at Olympia, every single industry is once again available. So, we have a small marble quarry here where we can get our marble. There's not much going on. North Shore is basically all for building. All these trees we can cut down. As we come further to the south now let me rotate my viewpoint, we have these mountains. And in amongst the mountains is some drachma. Here we go. So you can get some silver ore-bearing rock right on the inside here. I think that they had a lot of fun with the silver ore-bearing rock in weird, hard-to-get locations in this pack. It's almost like Impressions thought that mining drachma was an instant win button for any colony, so they made the geography with all of them like really challenging and interesting. This would be quite hard to mine, but I'm definitely going to be getting a little bit of it. There should be copper somewhere. Did I just scroll past the copper? Yeah, copper right up here on these mountains as well. Also kind of tricky to get. Probably want to do like a Hephaestus setup near there or whatever. And there is a good range of gods. You don't get the three brothers here. The three brothers were in open play military. And I would have thought for the final hurrah they would have put them here. But you actually don't. You only have Zeus. Oh, Zeus and Hades, no Poseidon this time. But they have a nice little mix. And I'll be talking about them in a little bit here. What else is there? Well, I don't know really. I mean, as far as the agriculture, you get wheat. You got sheep. For fleece, you've got dairies with cheese, you've got a little bit of wine here, you've got olive trees, and hunting, but no fishing. So a little bit of fishing or urchins would have been nice to just like truly round this out. You know, that's probably the reason they didn't include Poseidon on this map, because he wouldn't have much to sanctify, and they want you to feel really good about everything you build here. So in terms of geography, fine, it's got a lot of stuff, pretty interesting. But what did we just read in the beginning here? Well, they open you up with colonies. We never had to spend time messing with this, but we instantly have this colony here at Thasus who are devoted to us and love us. Miletos, our ally. Look at all these connections we have. There are very few rivals, so Troy is a rival here, so we do have some gameplay. Bistonia, now you notice there's a mythological place, Bistonia here. I'll get to that in a second, but basically we have a ton of nice people with us. And in fact, if I play the game forward just for a second here, watch this. If we play it forwards, we immediately start getting tributes. So fleece, you could never get a storehouse employed for that. But then you get drachma from this guy. That was wheat a second ago. They start giving you gifts. Everyone just showers stuff on you. So it really is like super open and free and nice. And then as far as this mythological thing is, I believe in this mission, every single hero will come to your city. They will all have a monster to kill. They will all have a quest to do. And so that's really exciting and fun. There's loads of content for them to play with. You can have special places for all the heroes' halls. And what I'm especially excited about there is the quests, because that means we get a ton of monuments, special, super badass monuments, the really cool style. So I think Impressions did know that they were amazing. Like, they kept them here in Open Play Sandbox for the sequel. And you can just, you can do whatever you want with them. So, yeah, really exciting map. I'm super excited to build on this. My goal here is simple, to make the best city. We are going to have a higher population than the 10,000 population we had before. I might try to beat the amount of drachma we had, okay, for the final best city. I might try to max out our military as well. I want all 4 sanctuaries here, and I'm going to try to... and obviously, in accordance with all of that, we will get all varieties of industry. So the ultimate city, and you might think, oh god, that's going to be a lot. Well, not really, because there's no colonies or extra stuff. I think this video, I mean, you guys can already tell from the timestamp. I think this video is probably going to be about the same length as the others, as far as the super speeding is concerned. So yeah, those are my goals. Also, do you know what I want to do at some point? I want to have a storehouse, and I want to have one of every commodity on it. I don't know if that's really possible. Maybe sculpture muscles out, but I'm going to try to have a really cool looking storehouse with one. That will not be like the last thing we do. Okay, so then that leads me into the beginning of the build now. What are we going to build? Well, for that, I want to show you guys a really ridiculous design that gets an obscene number of houses on a single agora. It was for a while the biggest block that I had seen online. However, there is a second one as well, which I'm going to cut in. A guy actually online has provided a save file. So you're actually going to see 2 mega housing blocks here, one of which I'll be building right here at Open Play Sandbox. It's a pretty interesting design, and I'm going to cut you away to another section now where I talk a little bit about that. Hello, Hephaestus, yes. So, let's see about our housing block and get started here. Yeah, look at this. Everybody loves us. Alright guys, for one final time, welcome back to Zeus Labs! Except we're on the sequel to Zeus Labs. Why use the original Open Play Sandbox when we can be here now? So, I've been looking forward to showing this neighborhood off for ages. We've been learning, I mean, there is a couple of things that aren't going to get included here, but we've been learning tips and tricks and building styles, and it's very fitting now that at the end, this final design essentially puts it all into practice. It's another one where really, if you guys might have thought of the concept as we were going along here. So this is a fusion of almost everything. The thing that's not touched on here is the alternating figure of 8. Alternating figure of 8 is how you can get the biggest block that I know in existence. I think maybe the max for the game engine, I guess we'll see, for 1 agora. And that's the edition that I have a save file provided for. So we'll build this other one first and then go have a look at the save file at some point later in this video. Let's look at the most recent design we did, which, let's remember, was in the 80s. What was it? 86, 89. It was 89 houses. This new one's going to be 110, so it's significantly more. Now, in that most recent design, we had this tick-tock. It was essentially a line. They would go out on the left, they'd go out on the right. We discussed why this was quite good. And what we did was, with the tick-tock, we folded it together to emulate a block, a little something like this. You know, it was a big box with a dip in it at the top. And what was really smart about this was this allowed us to double dip on appeal value. You know, if we put appeal in any of these corners, it would radiate out and it would hit everything. And I just want to say, this is still a fantastic design. This design actually that we saw at the previous Open Play Sandbox is probably my favorite. It's one of its great strengths is its affordability as far as appeal is concerned, and also just how compact it is. You get a lot of people in a very small space here. So for this new design, well, we're going to compromise on those ideas, affordability and how compact it is. Let's scrap the fake box idea. We'll keep all the same stuff that was working in principle from before, but now we're just going to have 2 stretches of line that come apart, and we'll pay a premium on having appeal all the way along the lines, which is going to be a lot of appeal, but we'll pay that. And what this immediately allows us to do by just going back to just straight shot roads is we don't have these internal corners. Remember I talked about there's an idea of if you have an internal corner, whatever building or house goes on the inside of this corner, you know, takes a lot of tiles of potential space, but it's all going to the same thing. Long stretches of road on these corners can only hit one house or service. Well, we no longer have that issue if we keep them as lines. So that's going to be our baseline. So next, let's start talking about some tricks we can use. Now, the whole idea here is maximum number of houses for one agora. So we want to think about where that peddler will go, and wherever the peddler will go, we want houses there as much as possible, nothing else. So if you think along those terms, one trick that we should definitely use is Forced Walker for the infirmary and for the fountain. We want the healers and the water carriers only to be on those roads. The buildings associated with them, by using the Forced Walker technique, we can shunt those buildings way outside of the peddler's range. The peddler will get 44 squares and then reach a bit further at the very extreme of his walk. Then beyond that range, we can have the infirmary and the water fountain all the way out there, because the walkers will walk infinitely if we force them to. So that's a very simple principle that you've seen me do a few times already. If you remember the last block we had, again, it was very compact, but we still had the water fountain and the infirmary and numerous other buildings still on the inside. Well, we're immediately gaining a lot of houses there as well by moving to this design. And following this exact same principle forwards, well, we can make another major improvement by doing the same with culture. By having feeder buildings on one side of the road and receiver buildings on the other side of the road, we can make all of those walkers that are being fed out of the buildings be our culture guys, and the culture buildings themselves can be outside of the peddler's range. And this is actually something you saw I myself was doing at Tenerum very recently. We had that really cool setup where we had the culture district. You know, I did a giant U and I did mixed housing block. Well, here, let's just do pure common housing instead. We'll change the shape a bit, and yet we'll make sure now that we don't have any of those buildings within peddler range. They'll all be beyond the maximum extent of the road. And kind of a cute and fun bonus if you're doing this is, well, remember our friend the theatre and the drama school, which we've been skimping on so often throughout the Let's Play? Well, if we're doing this technique, we may as well just put them down, because, hey, why not? That means that our houses are not reliant on the stadium's culture piece for their final bit of appeal. That means everything will be a lot more stable, and we get the fun flavour of, you know, just all of our people are going to be very well cultured. In fact, by doing this and with the stadium on the design all at once, so that we even have competitors going along, you can give every single townhouse in this massive giga block every single piece of culture, which is just absurd culture coverage that most regular towns people don't even ever really get. You know, most people reserve their stadium for somewhere just near their elites. Well, if we put them on this design, our culture is going to be like, you know, 100% immaculate, and we're going to actually end up winning loads and loads of games. There's kind of an advantage here. Well, we win a lot of, you know, Pan-Hellenic games, which gives us monuments, which is good because we're going to need them for the actual build. So at this point, you might be thinking, like, okay, this all sounds fine. It's pretty simple so far, but ooh, this is a really ugly stretch of road. And it's a very long, gross walk back for our healers and our water carriers. Once they get to one side, they got to do the whole thing back. And you might, at this point, do 2 giga blocks next to each other, I guess, doing the same thing. That might be a really interesting idea, but that's not the one agora. That would now be 2 agoras, so that's a very different kind of concept. But this would be a very gross walk. You might be wondering, is there a way we can get these 2 roads to terminate closer to each other, so the infirmary and the water fountain don't have such an awkward road back? And well, at first that might seem kind of impossible, because anytime we try to create a turn to get them closer, well, we're folding again, and we're losing value on the corner, on the internal corner, and essentially going back to the same design we had before. But there is solution, and it's based on another trick we've used throughout the LP, but was not featured in the previous Giga block, or it was featured, but only in a couple of spaces. Can you think what it is? Because it's huge. The corner trick. So remember when we did the diamond, and we tried to make the entire path jagged so we could get the corner trick everywhere? Well, look at this. This is a perfect candidate for making the path jagged again. So instead of making it straight, let's get rid of this. We don't want to make it straight. What we're going to do is deliberately zigzag up and down. Now, my little example here isn't going to be as good as it will ultimately look when we put the houses in. But by doing all these constant steps and bends all the way to the max length of where the peddler will go, we're going to end up with this arrowhead shape where the exits are much closer to each other for our forced walkers, first of all. But second now, and most vitally, we're not just going to get a double row of houses on either side. downside here. We're going to get quadruple rows of houses. Each stretch essentially will be like 4 blocks the entire way. Just ludicrous amounts of houses. And we're going to be able to go the whole way without any corners, which is even better than the diamond shape had before. The diamond shape wasn't able to achieve it because it had a couple of conventional 90-degree bends in there to achieve the diamond shape, to sort of turn it into a block. Well, we're just going to do away with that. We're just going to run on out the whole stretch. Now, at this point, you can see how this ends up taking a lot of space. Essentially, we are now kind of more like a block, you know, maybe if you filled the very middle with a bunch of cool stuff. So the guy that put this design up, he basically said, hey, thanks to this guy on the forum this number of months ago, thanks for demonstrating this technique. Thanks to this guy for this technique. Here's what I've put together. And he had a palace in the very center of all of it. Which is kind of a fun idea, and he managed to like double dip on some maintenance for the forced walkers, which actually hit the palace as well. So maybe you could use the very middle. He even had like a little spot here for a hero's hall. I'm not going to bother with any of that stuff. He actually talked about a really cool technique where you can keep placing and remove. The Hero's Hall has a bit of appeal. So, you know how sometimes you need just a little bit more appeal to make something evolve, and then it won't devolve again later because of the threshold? He would use like a Hero's Hall, like a stamp, like stamping along the whole road to evolve the houses, which is kind of a fun idea. Anyway, I'm not going to do that thing with the palace in the middle. For this map, I want my own awesome palace area. I love making these fortresses. What can I say? And, you know, this is going to be our ultimate city beyond just this one block. But, you know, if you do fill the middle with something useful like that, then you could kind of call this a block, if you will. I don't really know what I'll do in there just yet. I mean, maybe we'll see as the super speed section goes along. However, there are some downsides, 2 of them, and they're pretty major. First is appeal, okay? With all the kinks and the bends that we're doing on this road, well, if you think about Avenue and Boulevard, you can't really Avenue and Boulevard this. It would make things really, really ugly and weird, first of all, and be incredibly difficult to do without breaking the path. I'm not even sure if you can. I think, wouldn't it constantly break the path? So it's very difficult to get appeal from them straight away because you're not using Avenue or Boulevard, which are kind of like the hacks for appeal. Some people actually have honor rules in this game where they just say, I'm never allowed to use those, and it kind of changes your design a bit. Technically, though, if you think about it, even if we did spend the time to Avenue and Boulevard, all these little shards of path, we don't want to do that anyway, because this cuts into the range that the Agora carrier can throw away. It doesn't extend his throwing distance. The double throwing distance is there to facilitate the existence of Agora and Boulevard in the first place. So if we put any Avenue or Boulevard in, we don't get to do double houses. You literally can't do Avenue or Boulevard on this whatsoever. So then you might think, well, okay, fine, we'll run some park. We'll run, like, excessive park, since we can't have the beautification on the inside, and there's going to be no gaps for benches or anything, because we're going to line this all up perfect. It's going to be rock-solid houses everywhere. And you might think, well, okay, we'll just run a bunch of appeal on the outside. But think about the outside for a second. We have another issue, and that's maintenance. First, you're going to have all these little pieces of dummy road out there, which you cannot appeal. But remember, corner trick houses on Olympian have a tendency to catch fire. They need their own satellite maintenance, otherwise they will burn. And we're talking about literally half of the houses we're going to put down, 50%, not just 4 on the corners, 50% of the houses on this design will be able to catch fire. All right, you're going to have so much burning, it's unreal. So now we really do need to think about satellite roads with their own dedicated maintenance on there. But if we're doing that, then there's a whole inner road loop there, and that's even less space for appeal. So there are a couple of solutions to this. I don't know which one I'm going to go with, but my favorite is basically having this fire brigade thing, having a fire service somewhere near this, but not as a part of it. You can just create a courtyard filled with maintenance posts, and what they do is they run out and put out the fires. And here in my example here, you can see I've just given them a ring of path. That's all they need. Remember, when they're actually in there putting out fire mode, where they're holding the water jug, they become off-roaders at that point. So they don't actually need a road connection, just somewhere nearby, and they'll go out like a strike team. Isn't that fantastic? This is what I kind of want for hospitals as well and plague outbreaks. And you can just accept that fire, because, you know, if they put out the fire, it's actually not a problem. People don't move out while it's burning, quite tragically. You know, the fire gets put out and everything's fine. You know, there was actually a fire near me in real life last year, and it was the smallest goddamn fire, and it took them so long to fix it up. It was basically during a heat wave, and some people were having a barbecue, and their house caught alight. Anyway, in Zeus, there are no such problems, so we can have a fire brigade. I really love that idea. I'll probably just do one of my little courtyard things, and they'll run out and put out the fire. Now, you might think, oh, that's annoying to keep getting something is burning in the city message, but remember, we can just change our messages to turn that off, which is probably what I'll do. Now, just to lay out another solution, you know I said that they have a tendency to catch fire? Well, technically they don't have to. If on the innermost road, which will have its own maintenance, of course, we're going to shift the maintenance right out to the edge, along with the culture workers, and along with the infirmary, and along with the water carrier. The reason that the corner trick houses will catch fire is because that internal maintenance guy on the main road in the middle, he only tags them for like 1 pixel. And it's too irregular with just 1 tag from a pixel. So one way you could fix it is actually just have double maintenance for the inner road. You could add more maintenance so that more people patrol more regularly and they would get the fire all from the inside. That's another solution which I might use, but obviously you don't want to compromise on the houses at the 44 peddler area. So even with all of that said, this requires a lot of monuments and a lot of appeal. So do you know what else we can do and what's really awesome about this map? And we get to do something again that I've been wanting to do for a while. Aphrodite. Aphrodite gives the whole city an appeal bump. So this design, it does work without her, with enough monuments. But this is an example of a brilliant design that can take advantage of Aphrodite in order to, you know, get all of that appeal in and make this look great. We have her here, and in fact, we can even leave a bit of space up near one of the 2 culture districts. I don't know which just yet. We can leave a little bit of space to feed her into the housing block. We can give her 1 line out and she'll just walk down one of those flanks and then hopefully up the other flank without much choice for her to roam off into random weird directions. So now you see why I want to do this on Olympian, because on the lower difficulties you don't even need that much appeal to level them up. The fires won't be outbreaking. Here we get to use Aphrodite. The sanctification bit is just a cherry on top. So there you go. That's the idea of the block. I've probably talked too much about this without actually building it. So let's get in and actually construct the thing now. All right, yes, tributes. Thank you. We'll deal with these tributes in a second. My God, this episode's been pretty chaotic for the editing so far. All right, so, well, I'm thinking we'll be on the North Shore here. I'm thinking that this is, like, basically a perfect spot, near a meadow and everything. Maybe it's a little bit standard, but hey, so I'll clear a bunch of trees out. We are an Olympian, so our initial money is a little bit tricky. And evolving this, we might have to be a little bit careful with how steadily we stagger it up, but I think we'll be alright. So anyway, so I'm going to put the Agora, we want to extend like up and nice out into this area, and this is quite long, so well, let's have the Agora, I don't know, somewhere along here. And we'll have it pointing out towards the coast. And this gives us room for some storage and distribution behind it. Now, one thing I'm quite interested in, so here, I'll actually drag my road along here. The guy that was talking about this online, this was like back in 2001, by the way. The truly mega one we'll see later is like much later, it's like 2009. Anyway, he was talking about how this can use the Agora backdoor trick as well, which is really curious to me, because we're not technically making a block out the front. So when you're the AI, if you detect any block out the back on a large road network around the back, you probably will leave out the back, won't you? But anyway, I've got quite a lot to talk about with the Agora, funnily enough, because we're going to do some tricky little stuff. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this road up and along like this to the side. And what this means is we can start immediately putting our houses down. In fact, 2 of them, because we'll have our first corner right here. It will tag this guy back here. You see this corner out to here. So we get a bonus house. And my goal is actually to do the same on the other side as well. 2 houses right up against the Agora as best we can. I could, in theory, if the back door properly works, I think I could break this whole path, but I've not tested it, so I'm not sure. So basically, we're going to be separated ever so slightly, just because this little piece of path is there. That probably doesn't make much sense yet, but don't worry, it will in a second. So if we do this with the houses, you'll notice, well, hold on, we wanted to pull path out here, didn't we? Well, here's a funny thing about the Agoras that I haven't shown throughout the whole Let's Play. This line with the lovely, like, turquoise pattern, is that turquoise? On it. You don't need to pull a path out like I have been. You can technically pull a path out like this if you like. You could do a crazy pavement like this if you like. It doesn't really actually matter. So with that in mind, it's just, you know, basically never of any use. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to draw this bit of path out right out here. So we're not actually going to come out of our conventional spot. We're going to come out on the front, which is a little tricky and a little interesting. But there you go. So we now have our little beginning of our path, and this is a really easy build to remember, by the way. This one, It's actually way easier to remember. There's a lot less to memorize or like for me to have practiced at the start of these videos than any of the other designs we've done, because believe it or not, we're actually almost already done here. Seriously. I'm going to put some little parks in, and last for this opening little section, we'll have a gym, and you'll see the gym fits in here perfectly. Now this gym is purely here for the initial evolution, where we're going to have some problems with like that first wave of culture and before we can really put all of the houses in, because we're going to have to slowly stagger this out. Later, I'm going to replace that gym with a monument, because so much appeal is needed, and this is obviously going to be central to a ton of different houses. But for now, it's just a gym. And then it's just a matter of putting the houses in. So I'm going to do 15 houses all the way up. So not counting these very, very back ones. So this is 2. And then just every time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stagger it back. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So it's that long, okay? But, so this will be the 44 road that the peddler can get to, plus a little bit extra on the end. And then once again, we'll do it here. And weirdly enough, I don't know why, guys, but there's definitely something about the viewpoint with this game. Because check it out, when we do this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It seems like less, doesn't it? It seems much more compact. Like, these clearly come together really nicely, and this one spreads, like, way the hell out. And it must just be the art style or whatever. So there you go. So with the houses in, we can draw their road. And if we draw from the bottom... I always mess this up. If we draw from the top first, you come down. And then on this one, from the bottom out, like so. We have our paths done. Nice and easy. Now, we'll do the internal row, I guess, and this is very easy. So in my demonstration block that I built a second ago, each jagged bit, I was doing 2 out, 2 up, 2 out, 2 out. We actually want to go 1 out, 1 up, right? So that they all come in really nice and cleanly here. So there's all of these internal houses, all of these houses, all along here. You can see already how... Even if we don't do the corner trick rows now, we already have a ridiculous amount of houses. But I'm going to put some in. So I'm going to put this one in, who's going to be on the very end. And I think that guy's fine. I'll put this guy in on the very end as well. And they can go all the way along. You know, we're just going to have just a crazy mess of houses. But in order to not have too much craziness as we try to evolve and whatever for now, I'll leave it there. So... then we can bring our roads around, and there's just simply the matter of getting the infirmary and the water fountain in the middle, and then culture, and then culture. So the schematic online for this does provide a way of putting everything down if you really want to memorize it, like with the palace in the middle, with the spot for the heroes on. You can see how there's a lot of space for the palace now. But we know that you don't need to follow any of that to a T. You really don't. Here's the only thing that needs to happen. There has to be maintenance here so that this guy will come down and tag all of this. And if you think about it, the Agora worker, the peddler, will walk 44. So he'll come up. That means that this guy, who also walks 44, when he chooses to come down, he'll get back to the middle. We know that this is lined up. And then also on this outer flank here as well for this guy. That's absolutely necessary. Also, and I think that's pretty much it, really. Oh, no, that's not it. So these 2 mini ones here, I actually sort of messed this up here. We want a bit of bonus maintenance. And then we also want tax. So tax is the big cheat about this design. Let's just put a random palace down here for now. Tax is the big cheat on this particular design. We are not going to have complete tax coverage. There's no way to force a tax walker to go all the way. All we can do is put him somewhere at the bottom. He only moves the distance that a culture worker will walk. So he's only going to get about this far up, meaning the guys that live up here do not get taxed. And then over here, the guys up here do not get taxed. Now, a solution to that might be to just put more tax officers around the top. But I guess we'll just see how this lines up in a moment here. So what do I want to do? I guess we'll do culture. So I want Aphrodite to come down here ultimately. So we'll want a bit of a gap. But what I guess I'll do is I'll say we'll put all of our 3x3s. Now what I also want is it to look pretty. Because I do like my pretty culture districts. So let's say Avenue. This is totally needless. There aren't really going to be any houses here. This is just to give ourselves a bit more space for our 3x3s, and I'm kind of just winging it now. We'll have a gym, and he's going to send competitors to a stadium that's going to be built over there ultimately. We will have a drama school next to it, and then finally we will have a college next to that. There you go. So they all line up very well. I haven't really given myself space for Aphrodite here, though. So, what we could do is we could shift this college. And how's our money doing? Oh, God, see, we only have 8,000 drachma here. We could shift the college along and have a road out, maybe? And then we could roadblock the length of road. Because Aphrodite won't actually care about... she won't care at all about roadblocks. She'll just walk wherever she chooses to. They're kind of interesting. They're like roamers, but also destination guys in that they'll never really worry about roadblocks. So there you go. So that's one culture area. Then we just want the receivers on this other culture area. So let's say here. So I wrapped this road around here, but we don't really need to do that. So we can bring it along here. And then we can say... So, I mean, the stadium flush along the top would look really cool, wouldn't it? In fact, if we make it square with the maintenance office, that would look even better. So we can have the stadium, a theatre next to it. Oh my god, and that lines up perfectly with it as well. That's great. And then a little podium, I don't know, I guess on the inside there. Well, let's leave a little bit more space, actually, as far as that's concerned, because we do want lots of appeal. And the podium emits a bit, but, you know, so I'll keep him lined up like this, I guess. So this is still technically our culture area here. So, then there's also, unfortunately, one final matter, which is if you want the stadium to go permanently, you do want an extra gym up here. But that's alright, I guess, because that just gives us a little bit more purpose out of this. Like, I'll put pretty columns and stuff around it or something, and we should be okay there. So then finally, the two roads are going to come together. I guess we didn't really need to wrap this one around either, actually, in the end. Ooh, so maybe we don't need this whole road here. Maybe we can just have Aphrodite come straight in. So here, let's say a college like so. And then let's say a little bit of avenue. I mean, this is an expense that I probably shouldn't be spending. So that's fine. So now all we got to do is just make sure that our infirmary and our water carrier don't completely, don't go the wrong way. So let's see. They are going to exit. Oh, and we're playing forwards here. I don't really want to do that. So, what way... I guess it doesn't really matter if I have them going clockwise or counterclockwise, does it? So, I guess I will have infirmary there. Water fountain up above, because why not? We can use avenue to get it to touch, and that way the buildings are nice and lined up, and that's in some way pleasant. And then the north road will be like so. Now, they're going to need roadblocks along this bit of the north road, so the infirmary doesn't leave on the wrong exit. But they should be fine. So the water carrier will come out, they'll walk all the way around. Culture will go the other way. We got a clockwise versus counterclockwise kind of thing going on here. Probably some extra maintenance would be nice here, so I'm going to squeeze that in like that, just to ensure that all this stuff gets hit. We could even actually technically roadblock this, forcing that guy down, and if we get fires later, that may be exactly what I do. There'll be time to beautify and put pillars and all kinds of stuff on later. Aphrodite's road will come up here or so. And that's the basic start of the design. And then we have storage and distribution. So what we can do here, right, is there will now be houses here and here. And you notice this tiny little row on the inside. I'm just going to put some column on there. This row wouldn't exist if I hadn't built this side road for the Agora. I could have shoved it all in, and they would have all snapped together. And it would have, you know, we would have chunked in one more piece of path up here as well. But I don't know 100% whether the Agora backdoor trick will work exactly. But I do have a cool thought, just in case it does work, and that's this. What I'm going to do, so these guys desperately need appeal, i.e. they don't want to live near a granary. Certainly not a granary. So we could pull this road right along here. I want to shift the granary out as far as possible. So I was thinking of doing just some avenue with the granary attached so that she essentially teleports food in if she can. But even better than that, why don't we boulevard? By boulevarding, if she does end up spawning out the back, then we've actually managed to shift the granaries one even further over, right? So I really like that idea. So I'm going to... let's see here. Let's say one more piece of avenue, and I'm going complete. This is just totally my idea here for how maybe this will work. So if I put the granary back here on this corner, well, we don't want it breaking, do we? No, it'll be right next to a maintenance post that's going to bounce up and down really fast, so that should be fine. So, and in fact, speaking of maintenance, so we'll have maintenance, but then appeal again. Well, hold on. So also, because there's so many mouths to feed, I'm going to do 2 granaries, and let's swap our viewpoint here. So with 2 granaries, we only want this little section that anyone's entering them, grabbing food off of. And what we'll do is we'll have both granaries getting anything they can, but they will just accept the wheat, because the wheat will just pile up and they'll take it across the whole map to bring it here. So these should be rammed full. She has her choice. She barely has to move. That way she can feed everyone. And this is a big deal, getting this right here, because these houses on the very end, the time it takes the Agora Walker to come all the way up, zig, 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 all the way along, and then come all the way back down, and all the way up here, and all the way back down, and then finally all the way back up to return to a house. That's 3 months. 3 months between each time these guys get serviced. So if she ends up empty of food right at that 3 months, it's instant devolution. And food is obviously a massive commodity. They'll devolve all the way down. And the guy online actually talked about how this has a knock-on effect, because then half a year later, when he finally goes there and he might have food, they're going to slam him with the full demand for max capacity food, and they will drain his cart really hard. You know, if we imagine they're all at Townhouse already, they'll drain his cart really hard, and then that has a knock-on effect with everyone else, and it can spiral out of control when you're at such ridiculous numbers. So you want to ensure that he never has this little gap where she has missed out from purchasing. So we want this to be as good as possible here. So that's what I'm doing there. Now this has all been very expensive for no good reason. I'm going to actually pull the boulevard out here, because we're going to have our storehouse here as well. And then that gives me space for, you know, some column or something. I don't know. And we'll see what we can do about appeal for these guys as time goes forward. Again, eventually this gym here is going to be a monument. So these guys should be okay regardless. But yeah, that's a nice setup. And apparently we're going to be moving on straight away out into a quarry. Because we're right next to that. And that's going to want a lot of storage. Also, by the way, when I was building this stuff earlier, I noticed the game kept snapping me and saying, oh, it's going to decay. It's because I have no water crossings across the Central River just yet. So there you have it. So this is the design, and I'm now going to just move on and build the city, okay? You will watch this evolve. Hopefully it's not too awkward of a start here. I've got to get some food in. I've got to deprioritize culture for now. Let's just get this original stuff in here. Get the hygiene and safety up. Stuff's probably going to break. I might even have a sneaky cut if loads of stuff break, because this is so much. But mind you, we're not too far from the entrance to the town. Look at this. Oh, this is such a good map in terms of how they set everything up. And look how it looks on the map. See, one giant arrowhead. Really nice. So yeah, let's build this. Let's see how it goes, and this will be Troezan. Oh, this one's been fun. So I'm not actually finished with the city as I speak into the microphone right now. What I've done is I've played an hour. And in that first hour, I've been basically purely focused on evolving the housing block. And so now I'm talking to you about what happens in this first hour, and then I'm going to go away and I'm going to go do more advanced stuff. You know, we'll put elites in and things like that. So, evolving the housing blocks. Well, first of all, a bit of agriculture, a bit of food. So I'm thinking here, go big or go home, right? So I put a ton of wheat farms down in that really lovely configuration that we haven't seen since Corinth. The one really good thing about Corinth before everything went to shit there. I've been meaning to do that for a while. Also, I'm thinking finally is the time that we can do the wine with the vineyards just right. So, also, I set up these wheat farms quite late in the year, but I guess because of the timing of it, our first harvest was really fast. You see, the harvest has already come in. So, that was really, really handy. Now that I'd set that up, I figured, okay, well, we'll do a bunch of dairies as well. Go big or go home. So, lots and lots and lots of cheese. And I'll make a nice big pen. And originally, this pen here is meant to just be for goats with 2 nice little roadblocks in, as you can see there, like a double gateway entrance, which I really like. In the end, I'm going to end up filling that with sheep and stuff because, like, I built a really nice agricultural district. You guys will see what you think about it in a second. But I forgot to do carding, which is obviously the second material that we need to evolve everyone. And that meant that, you know, I kind of had to bung the sheep in as best I could here. So here you can see the weird effect as they move up this zigzaggy line. There was the Agora evolving one little line. I checked my exports because money... We're on Olympian, right? So we have to start exporting quick. That's really the major difference about Olympian than the other modes. And I figure, well, everything can basically be exported here. It's one of the hallmarks of why this is such a ridiculous sandbox. Literally everything with all your initial contacts. So, since we were right next to that marble quarry, I just set up some marble industry. And then I decided, well, we'll build a little bridge over to this island where there are some boars. So I'll put a hunting lodge, why not? Nice diverse diet, wheat. So here we've actually got a good diet. We can make like bacon cheese sandwiches or something here. We got cheese, we got meat, and we got wheat. But yeah, so with that, I'll also set up a pier, figure out who actually we're selling to. I'm pretty sure it's Egypt on this one, to sell our wood to. So I'm thinking with the marble exports and with the wood exports, that will keep me going while we continue with this evolution. And you'll notice they actually both double up as sanctuary building materials, which is perfect because the other goal I've got here is, when I say evolve the housing block, I mean we got to get Aphrodite down. I want to put Aphrodite in there and see how much the appeal bonus just instantly evolves people, even before I've put most of the appeal down, before we've unlocked a lot of monuments, which, by the way, we are already unlocking monuments, like from winning games. You're going to see in a minute, I actually pause and point out that we start winning the Olympics, like, very, very, very fast. So, yeah, one of the inner rows as well for the double with the corner trick and the dummy road that I have there on the inside. I figured putting the interior stuff on first was probably better than putting any of the other stuff on because I can figure out the interior appeal first. And, you know, you do at least somewhat double dip with the appeal on this design when you're at the tighter end of the V, let's say. Oh, steady now. So yeah, then I think, oh, well, we can start exporting wine as well. So go back over to agriculture. And this is my attempt at the tutorials design. So I've got the columns there. I've got the parks there. I think it looks good. The downside is that the meadow is now really spotty up there. And I don't have, like, perfect patches, so there's, like, gaps in the vineyard. I don't know if that makes it look more realistic and nice or less. And then here I'm going for my, you know, the courtyard thing that I've talked about from Guild Wars Queensdale, where I want all the wine on the inside of these monasteries to look over it. I was going to do walls, but that didn't really work, so I dot some column around. And anyway, so these are our olive trees. Now, all I've really put down, go big or go home, but I've only put down, like, 5 growers' lodges. And with just the 5 growers' lodges, all these olive presses right next to them. Since I've realized they'll take it to an olive press first, I may as well put olive presses next to them rather than storage houses. And some wineries I placed down. We have just epic amounts of wine and olive oil with just a couple of growers' lodges at this whole city. You know, this is going to be a huge demand for those goods, all these houses. And we're going to be in such a ridiculous surplus. I think I'll start selling them, actually, when I get back to playing in a second, in the next hour. Here we had a fire. Our first fire, and evolution is not happening until I turn my culture up. We need a lot of workers through basically all of this footage, so evolving these houses does feel very, very good. And there's another fire. And do you know what? As I watched these fires, what occurred to me? So here I'm going to try and do like a fire brigade thing, right? A fire service. So first I think, well, I'll put them in the middle, but it didn't really work, and I might need the space for appeal, so I move them aside. I put some extra ones up near the infirmary, and then I'm just going to dot like a square down of maintenance posts in the hope they'll put out the fire. But unfortunately, guys, I'm not seeing them do it. You'll see it in a second, like there's these fires blazing, and the guys are just spinning around like dummies in their little courtyard, not actually going out with the water buckets. Oh, also, here, I tried to turn the messages off for the fires so that we're not getting prompted every time. And it doesn't seem to work. Actually, I'm still getting warned about city fires. I guess they count as city catastrophes, which I would have thought is more like landslides, earthquakes, you know, that sort of thing. Tidal waves. But no, so here we go. So I'm putting these guys down. And essentially, because this experiment kind of doesn't work, here's a nice effect of it, though. I thought I'll put them down. I'll put some parks. They walk over the parks to get out. There shouldn't be a problem with that. And some columns. I realized, what were we talking about in the 2 episodes ago? We're doing this amazing build here that gets incredible value out of Aphrodite. What's the other god who has a really cool perk that we were dealing with? It's Hephaestus. Hephaestus stops fires. And what did I say? I said to really get benefit of this is you're going to need like huge stretches of houses with no other buildings because the other buildings collapse. This is exactly what we've got. Guys, this is a perfect Aphrodite and a perfect Hephaestus setup. So, It's not going to be here in this first hour, but the next thing I'm desperate to do is have Hephaestus. This is another cool, like, double god combo that facilitates just this amazing housing block here. Then again, I need barely any appeal, and they'll need all this random maintenance that I'm putting around on like an interior loop, like a bit of an interior loop and stuff, can all go away once we have Hephaestus running. So I am giddy excited about that. I don't really know any other big god combos in the game, which is just as well since we're getting near the end of the Let's Play here. Oh yeah, I had some weird problems putting hedge mages down as well because it was cutting access off from Greece, but you know. So Arenanet has got loads of grapes, I put them down, and I think we're about to win the Olympics, which I did a tiny bit of live commentary for. Not much because I had a fan blowing against me in the mic, so it sounds like I'm in a tornado or something, but here's what I remarked when this happened. Here, look, instant Olympics, and we won them. This crimes reported thing's really interesting. No acts of vandalism? Like, what is vandalism? Theft? Muggings, I guess I know. This is purely flavor, I suppose? Do you know what? That actually sounds a lot like I'm a reporter out on the field and the wind's blowing into the mic. Yeah, that was me on location in Greece, guys. I really went all out on this LP. Yeah, that led me to looking at this weird UI about the criminals as though they do different things. Maybe vandalism is when a criminal breaks a building, but that's very rare to see happen. You know, only when your city is completely spinning out and going to shit. As you can see, money is still an issue, and we're relying on helping hands from all of our amazing friends and, you know, companions around Greece right now. So since I'm making wine already, I decided to start exporting that as well, and I've put another little pier down for them. And then here's where I realized, well, we need fleece. If we want this next wave of workers, Evolution Wave 2, we need fleece. I tried to make like this makeshift pen in the middle, like abutting the vineyards and abutting the Growers Lodge, like monastery area. And I think the effect is really nice overall. This looks like a proper farmland, you know, as everything's come out into different grids and rectangles of different industry. I do think this is cool, but there's not enough meadow in there. There's actually very little meadow on these little, you know, I think all the best meadow is where I put those wheat farms. Realistically, I could have put the wheat farms on the spotty bits, instead of the really thick bit, and it would have worked out better. But anyway, so I end up dotting sheep just all over the place. And, you know, that's fine. I kind of like the whole free roaming sheep idea. I also realize now, look, we have agriculture. I've always wanted to do a city, and since this is our last chance here, I've wanted to do a city where the houses and stuff are inside really amazing long walls. And outside of the walls, you have the agriculture. Like you'd imagine, you'd have a real-life setup. And I realized I had the perfect opportunity for that here as well. We have this amazing heart of the city here, put it inside the wall, and all the agriculture, now that I've basically used all the meadow, we can separate them off. And that gives me a nice use of a gatehouse. A gatehouse which I'm not worried about placing at this point either, because I don't think there's that many god invasions here. There is content, certainly, and I think some gods may attack us. I don't know whether I plan to put Zeus. I don't know what my final two gods are going to be yet. It's definitely Aphrodite and Hephaestus. I don't know about the others. We might want a combat kind of god. I'll probably pick the rarest one, the one that we've seen the least of in the series, frankly. Look at this agriculture area. Oh, it's just weird and wild enough with a good amount of like structure to all the wheat farms. And there's another row of carding sheds here. So with the carding sheds and all this, we're going to be just completely full of all these resources forever now, which is nice. The wheat farms also are waiting to deposit. The two granaries close by are absolutely stuffed. They're actually so stuffed. If you look on the road in front of the granary, you can see a guy with a wheelbarrow full of wheat just waiting there. And I love that. It's like he's additional storage. It's like an additional piece of storage on the granary now that will instantly get filled in the first time that they take some away. And so a lot of this footage here really is me just checking the houses and seeing what kind of appeal they need. The entire reason that stuff isn't evolving right now is appeal. That is it. Everything else is perfectly set up. So I'm looking now at Aphrodite and thinking, well, how can we squeeze her in? That does mean moving the wall a little bit. That meant moving the road at the infirmary just a little bit. But these are only small issues. Now, if I want to build her, we're going to need to save some marble instead of selling it all. So right next to my quarries, I put a bunch of marble storage bays, since we will have the employment. Put the park around it as well. I loved that effect of that park, plus the dotted columns. I think that's like the best storage bay we've done so far. Noticing how much fleece we've been building up now, just immediately, all the storage bays that I've placed for it are full. You can see just on the inside of the wall there. I figure, well, let's start selling that as well, since you can do everything on this map. And here I'm doing a thing where I'm putting trade. You see I put the trade post where we sell the marble next to the quarries? And then I'm putting the trade post where we sell the fleece next to the carding sheds. I kind of like that setup. It's not easy to do in the other maps because you don't know who will sell what. You don't know if they're going to disappear on you or anything. But here it's all rock solid and you understand forever that your stuff isn't going to break. You're not going to be leaving for other colonies and things. So, you know, instead of having one central trade area, which I've done a lot of in this series, I'm going to have trade for the specific commodities right next to their own buildings. And that will mean better movement of goods within our own city. The traders, hopefully, you know, they're going to have a bit of a labyrinth to get through in the end, the outsiders as they visit. But, you know, they can only trade so much per year anyway, so hopefully it's fine. Maybe Hermes is the last thing I get. Dare I do Hermes again? I mean, that would definitely speed those guys up. And then, of course, the last thing we need is sculpture. So that's me setting up the foundries on the distant part of the sea, which really feels very far away. Everything on the south bank of the river, my God, feels far away. And I do a very careful long line. I put the foundries kind of far away, but close enough. And then the storage for the bronze that they get, pretty far away down the road. And then the sculpture studios up on the north bank here. So we are slowly, you know, we're daisy chaining the goods right back into the center of the city. Because I know that when I start making Aphrodite, when I start making Hephaestus, I don't want to be sitting there forever watching the stuff build up. Which, unfortunately, I end up doing anyway. Because of wood, which is really weird. Even watching this footage back, I think that's just so odd. But we're obviously selling a lot of wood and not stockpiling it right now, and it takes them just forever to get the wood up. Like, they're stalled already. Oh, look at what I do with the parks here. Look at how good this is. Bring the wall in. Aphrodite's all about beauty, right? So she deserves more than just some columns around her. She deserves parks and stuff too. I absolutely adore that effect. I might actually go in there and put some flower gardens in as well, just to vary up the way that the parks look and the textures even more. I kind of just love parks today. Like, what's up with that? Like, here's some more parks put around our storage, our excess storage for the housing block. And with that, we are adding oil. So that housing block now has everything, and all the various states of disarray and lack of evolution you see, because there's a huge variety now. There's some townhouses, there's some shacks, right, on this block. This is entirely an appeal game. And what I'm really excited about now, so this is going to be the end of the first little play session here, is when Aphrodite's just going to get finished in a second. As soon as she does, we get the global appeal buff. And what I'm desperate to see is what kind of evolution is that going to trigger? How much is everyone going to evolve when she's finished? Look at this block. What will we get? So we will see in a second. Here I am turning off tribute messages because I've had one too many of those, especially since open play military in the last episode. Super speeding along. You'll see our money is now excellent, by the way, and just rocketing up. I don't think it will ever be a problem again. And here is what happens when Aphrodite finishes. All right, there we go. Oh, I was moving a little bit quick there. So as soon as she clicked in there, all right, immediately a bunch of people evolved. I was very curious to see how this would go. Everybody respects and loves us suddenly because we've built one thing mythologically. So here she is roaming through. And, well, what did we get here? Well, that majorly evolved all these guys along this flank, which is excellent. These guys are still struggling a little bit, but no, they're making improvements. Here she is actually sanctifying things as well. I've actually done this really well. Look, if she chooses to roam to the side, i.e. where the true north is for the infirmary, she hasn't got long before she turns around to go back in the other direction. So she's kind of forced to... This is really, really funny and really weird. We've kind of made a more perfect setup here than I could have dared for when we were trying to mess with her before. And it was really hard to build that other housing block in open play... economic, I think it was. Open play economic too. Look, she's even sanctifying from here. Well, there, by the way, that's totally demonstrates that the sanctification range is definitely more than one. Remember that trivia we gave a while ago that we weren't sure about? Well, that's brilliant. It looks like a house did manage to burn down here. And so nothing for it now except to set up Hephaestus. So that's going to be my next project. Hephaestus next to her would be amazing. So let's see. And we have everything we have established to set these guys up. We could have the Forge of Hephaestus right there. But the theatre's a bit big. I think we are cut into the theatre. Let's just swap our viewpoint here just to be 100% sure. He doesn't technically need to be anywhere near it. In fact, he should probably be near some armories, shouldn't he? Oh, that would be cool though, with the two statues right up here, the two temples. We could shift him back by one. But having him sanctify armories is probably a better idea, so let's go put him somewhere near the bronzing area. Oh, look. And this will be so good as well. We're getting major value out of the zero burning thing on this. Like, huge. So, I'll see you guys for that as we go along. So this is section 2. I recorded another 40 minutes now, and I'm doing this commentary. It's just easier to chunk it up like this than have like 3 hours all at once that I need to try and remember what the hell was going on. So here I'm going to place Hephaestus. Kind of the theme for this section is elite housing. And I did decide, screw it, I'm going to put Hephaestus up here. They're just going to look so good next to each other. But this influx, all these people to come live in this ridiculous housing block here. Just look at the field full of people scurrying along like ants out of every possible area. I decided to tough it out and just wait. Actually, no, look, there you can see me having a glimpse at the way in. I think I checked the tab and it says 500 people are still moving in or something ridiculous. So, yeah, I move a bunch of the culture buildings. You see, I've shifted the stadium to the side. I've shifted the theatre down below, just to create this extra little bit of space. And I'm trying to line it up here with Aphrodite's so they'll look very good next to each other. I'm not sure, and they are lined up. I think he might be slightly smaller, or just his dimensions are weirder. I think he might be thicker but slightly stubbier. But nonetheless, I can get them to line up anyway by just doing this parks and column thing all the way around and just dragging the columns out by an extra one, sort of cheating a bit. And then I messed up and ruffled up the parks there because I didn't really want the 3 statue, you know, massive parks, the 3x3 parks altogether. I don't really think that looks too good. What that does mean is any foundries that would try to get in there around the back can't really get there easily, but there is technically a space out the back of the infirmary, which would be a hell of a weird walk, but there you go, it is totally possible. This house that's on fire on the very edge of the V, there are 2 of them. They're actually out of Agora range. They were only ever staying at shack level, so I decided to just rip those out. There were 2 extra houses that I built there that I didn't need. The rest of them, they're all thriving and they're all doing very well. Bit of beautification for the agriculture area, which I fall more and more in love with every time I look back in the editing here. I think it looks great. We're getting heroes halls and stuff. One of them wants wine, so I have some storehouses for some wine for one of those guys as well. Armor, because we're going to be working on elites in just a second. And while I'm filling these guys in, I remember the last bit of industry we haven't tapped yet in this very remote area of the town is the mints. I like this map. It's got lots of open space, but then there's some weird, interesting geography down here. Anyway, so placing the mints, I did live. So here with the mints, I think I'll do this in like live real time here. I'll turn the fan off so it doesn't seem like we're on location, because this seems really interesting. So the silver ore is down here, and if I try and draw some path out, it's not letting me. So we have to find our own route to it. So I believe that's going to mean cutting down the trees. Could be one issue to get out here, but the other issue is probably just water crossings, right? So this is interesting here. There's a slope here and a slope here, but I don't believe that mint workers will just get there straight away, and we can verify that because it kind of looks like, you know, they might come down this step and then come across this really narrow cliff, like, you know, you always see them doing, like in the Pokemon anime or whatever, or a million shows. I don't know why that's the one that comes to mind. Probably because we were talking about it in an earlier episode. Here, see, they can't get there. The miners dream of mining silver, but they can't. Either something is blocking their path to the ore, or there isn't any ore, so we'll have to give them their route. Now, I don't necessarily need to put the mints in there, I suppose. So let's see. So they're going to come along from this shore. They probably want that water crossing. They probably want a water crossing there. One there. Oh, there you go. They can make it already now. So then from this bank, they're moving along. Oh, my lord. And then what? They're coming down here? Down this slope, along this bank, all the way along, all the way up, and all the way through. Oh, nice. We get a gift of all... Oh, no, there's a slope there. Okay, nice. In fact, 2 slopes. Okay, so, yeah, we have access to the silver ore there, which is nice, I guess. There's also meadow here as well, you know. I'm not sure what else I would use that for. But anyway, so there's some... I'll find a nicer place for these buildings to live, but there you have it. I really do wonder if Impressions thought it would be overpowered to have it too easily accessible on a map that ultimately they know people are going to get ridiculous population on. Because in theory, any excess population we have, we could just shunt into a ton of mints. So I filter the mints out along the cliffs and the roads because I don't know what else we'd ever use this area of the map for. And I want it to feel populated. I want to see people walking around out there. You know, the more activity in the different areas, the better. And look at this. There's this whole quarter here still with this field. So now I'm thinking about elites, and I'm wondering, do I want elites up here north of the river, or do I want them down here by the palace south of the river? And I go back and forth on this a lot. I end up opting for north of the river. And so here we're beautifying this little industrial area, trying to keep it sealed off because I don't know how close the elites are going to come to everyone right now. I end up going north because of this Colosseum thing. If I want them all to fully evolve into cavalry, they're going to need people from the gym to pass their neighborhood on the way to the stadium. And so I'm hoping that if I bend like a culture district around nearby, the gym will detect that the stadium's nearby and they'll send competitors out. Which is a theory that ends up working out. If I'd gone south of the river, I think we'd be so far away from the stadium, it might not happen. You know, we'd right-click the house, we'd do everything, and then we'd get to the end, and we'd right-click the houses, and it would say, they need access to a stadium. And moving the stadium would suck, because that would take it away from all of our commoners, and we'd stop winning all of these games over and over, you know, multiple Olympics and hosting games all the time, which is just a super awesome perk of the city we haven't seen anywhere else. So that's why I picked the North Road. And as for the actual design, I want as many troops as I possibly can out of this. I want to max our military out if we can. So that's going to mean a lot of elite houses. And you know what, guys? Honestly, throughout this LP, my elite housing districts have been kind of rubbish. And one of the reasons they've been kind of rubbish is I've very often gone with this design where we have an agora and then a roadblock straight away next to it. So the peddler only ever patrols out, you know, down the same stretch of path over and over. We very rarely have ever seen a peddler tick-tocking. So here you see he'll come out on the left and he'll service a bunch of elite houses, and then he'll go out on the right and he'll service a bunch of elite houses. This is totally possible. We'll get huge amounts of elite houses out of this and soldiers. The downside to this design is you don't rearm quickly. He has so many houses to do. On one route he'll go left, on the other he'll go right. So it's a bit like those commoners waiting 3 months for their food. You know, it's going to take 3 months to get armor to the most remote houses here. Happily for us, though, we're just going for big brute force numbers and making things look massive. And there really isn't going to be much combat here anyway in open play, so it's an okay design for open play. The elite designs I've done elsewhere in the Let's Play have been really good for rearming. But here's how you can get a huge amount of elite houses out of just a single agora. And what I'm kind of going for is a design a little bit like what we saw at Tenerum before. I just love that so much. So, look, we have a culture district. They're all feeders there. And they're going to walk to the commoners. At first I was thinking, oh, okay, I'll have to put another theatre down and I'll have to put another podium down. But no, it's all good. Even though it's quite a walk they've got to go to get to the commoners now. They've got to go not just to the commoners, but all the way up and through. And yet, they'll be perfectly fine. So we have all culture set up, and I even gave them an infirmary, a little bit of tax up there as well. So that's the elite neighborhood, generally speaking, set up. I bent it in here because what I wanted was clearance for a wall I'm going to put in a second. We get a notification for another quest at this point, and it's Theseus. So Theseus in his own home. Definitely have to get a good place for him to live, but he wants to live near the palace. Now, what you can see the footage here is instead of giving him walls, I've given him columns. That wasn't me messing around with the trick, and I actually had a bit of live commentary on there at the time. Earlier in the Let's Play, I mentioned this, that there's this idea that you don't actually need to give him walls, you can just give him columns, and I was trying to show that off, but it didn't work. Now, there are posts on the forums saying it works, but I can't make it, so I wonder if this is one of those things that Impressions patched when the Zeus enhancement pack came out with 1.1, because no matter what I did, I've cut a lot out of the footage out of the footage there. I couldn't get the columns instead of walls technique to be a thing, so maybe it's not anymore, or people were just wrong initially, which would be a weird one. I don't know. This is one of those weird moments. If you guys know the details, I'd love to read that in the comments. But yeah, so look, here's all the elite houses. This is as far as the peddler will get on the other side. For beautification, it was kind of a bitch, actually, the beautification for all this stuff. And I don't blame them when they get closer and closer to the stadium. But so I did flower gardens and park, which probably isn't enough. Oh, yeah, then Hector attacked. So Hector is going to get taken out by Achilles, who we also have another quest for. So, yeah, like I say, everyone's going to get a quest and a monster. We're going to see all of Achilles' stuff all at once here, really. But I did notice, so this was a terrifying place for him to spawn. He's right near our granaries and our storehouses and everything. But weirdly enough, he's just patrolling there, right next to the heart of the town, not doing anything. Which is amazing, really, since he was the monster I was scared, like, beelined your palace and actually deliberately wreaked devastation. But no, he just wanders around there, and he's fine. I also built that tower on the south bank, knowing they could shoot across. And in fact, they are actually hitting him. Sometimes I hear the sound effect, the little plink sound effect, where an arrow's actually struck his armor. I think, given enough time, and I'm talking years and years and years and years and years, that one tower probably would kill Hector there. Seriously. Like, why not? It would be doing a bit of damage, but we're on Olympian difficulty, and it's one archer that misses, like, 9 out of his every 10 shots. So I think we would be waiting for a very long time. But anyway, so he's just patrolling there. I'm a little bit nervous, and all the more reason to get our elites up, because this is what Achilles wants. So now I'm thinking about the entrance to the city, and, you know, I love this. You put a road, you boulevard the road with a gatehouse on it, and then you've got room down the sides for those columns down the flanks on the inside of the gatehouse. That's just so nice. Everything gets squared off so perfectly. It's a beautiful entrance to the town. Also, look at this. Visitors are entering into our elite neighborhood. This is the most pristine area, and it's the first thing you see. This is kind of like an ultra fancy version of what we did at Thebes with Argos, with everyone entering via the Agora. Argos, oh, so many moons ago. A little bit tricky on this northernmost corner, but now we can connect the walls together. Connecting the walls together has been a little bit weird, though, because it's created all this dead no man's land, like backroom space. And even though it looks like that outer road that I've done there for potential towers in the future looks like it goes somewhere, it doesn't actually. There's no way into the elite neighborhood that I've set up at all. So I'm wondering what to do with the backrooms right now. I think my third and final build session here, which you'll see in a second, maybe I'll do something, but I'm thinking Heroes Halls. Heroes would be awesome. And I don't know if you caught that in the footage just now, but it's actually kind of an annoying path because Aphrodite has started walking up there. But look at how good this is. This is a proper walled city. This is what I imagined all that time ago with Mighty Walled Tyrants, except I was thinking of like 2 layers back then. Oh, I'm so happy we finally got it in here. And yeah, Avenue on that interior road just looks swanky as hell and really cool. And since we essentially have infinite cash already, I figure why not? We can really splurge on every little bit of the building we want to do now. And that includes like housing districts, which I will want to put a couple more down if we want to get back up to the 10k population threshold. Anyway, so this is most of the building done. I'm going to cut you back in some live commentary now with the completion of a quest. Okay, so we've got Achilles, so we can fulfill Hephaestus' request now to send Achilles off to get the bow and arrow. So this will give us a Hephaestus statue. Now, where do we want to put the Hephaestus statue? This is the question. I am hard up for monuments. I think it'll be a small Hephaestus, not a large Hephaestus. The elites might like it. This area looks a little bit naked here. This is a really good square here in the center, and it's kind of near Hephaestus' forge as well, which is also kind of nice. By the way, look, Granary 1 taking a beating now. It's starting to struggle. It's starting to wobble just that little bit.
You have succeeded and forged a name for yourself among the gods.
Well, there we go. With the help of Achilles, we've obtained the bow and arrow of Hercules. Achilles will now join in the war against Troy. Look, they didn't even change this dialogue here. And your success is virtually assured. That's brilliant. Okay, well, we're not fighting Troy. Actually, maybe that's why they put Troy as a rival on this, so that they could reuse that dialogue and it wouldn't matter. Okay, so let's see. Oh, it is a large Hephaestus statue. Nice. Oh, I kind of want to put it in a more special area then, you know. What I've wanted this whole time really is a nice big one in the middle here. And I believe we're going to get like 3, maybe even 4 of these. So we can have them all lined up in the middle of this just like epic block. And the appeal they cast would actually be kind of cool as well. I think at least 1 in the middle is cool as hell. And we can actually... Here, if I place him there... Well, there's no going back now. I've hit the button. We can get rid of this internal maintenance and this internal maintenance. None of this matters. And what I can do... And that bench as well. And the hedge mazes, because we don't want to cut anyone off from Greece. In fact, let's just clean all this up here. What I'll do is I'll give him a ring of Corinthian column. And that still won't cut anyone off from Greece. Oh, isn't that good? Oh, yeah, I like that a lot. Oh, my God, look how jacked this guy is. Look at this. Oh, my God, in profile. Okay, so there you have it. So that's one of the statues. Next, I just got to build the fortress, I suppose. So, indeed, yeah, Hephaestus is finished, just to be clear. He finished really early in this recording session. And so there's been no more fires, so I can start lifting out more and more of those maintenance posts. It's awesome, because one of the only things in there now is a tax office, which also is a place that burns. Oh, Hector was slain! Oh, I didn't even look! Oh my God, yeah, of course, he went off and killed Hector as well. Thanks, dude. So that should give us, actually, does that give us the, see, that doesn't, see, we just killed a monster here, but we didn't get that special monument from Open Play Military. See, it's weird. Sometimes they'll give it to you, sometimes they won't. Victoria's Hero Monument. Man, there's something about that one map that it appears on and not any others. What a cool, crazy bit of trivia and weird thing about the game. And with that, really, I just finished off this last little bit of wall. Really, I'm stalling here before, you know, I came off to speaking to the mic now. So I'm now going to go, guys, there we go, evolving this last little corner since we didn't put the Hephaestus statue there, to build the fortress and figure out what I'm going to do with that massive plateau down there. I'm thinking fortress, houses around it, a little bit like our Aeolcus setup, but as fancy as I can possibly make it. And our last 2 bits of mythology, maybe an attack on Troy. Let's see how it goes. See you guys in a sec. Okay, I'm now realizing, now that I've done all the recording, so this is the 3rd and final session, I'm now realizing what I said about the timestamp at the beginning of this video. Looks ridiculous, but I promise, it's not because this build took that long. It's because we've had a lot of slowed down sections. We had like a 40-minute intro, and I got a really cool thing that I'm showing you at the end based on, you know, this housing block stuff. So there's like a whole other section in there. I swear, guys, I swear. Anyway, I forgot to say good morning. It's actually another day for me. I just, for the first time, was reading about Mike Tyson versus Douglas, where Tyson had his first loss and how it was like this total Goliath versus David story that nobody saw coming. It was just a really wild, insanely cool like moment of sporting history that I've been reading all about this morning. And actually, amazingly as well, I realized that the band The Killers, they have this song called Tyson versus Douglas. It's from one of their newer albums. I've like been out of touch with that band for ages, and I listened to it. It's actually a really, really good song, man. What a cool story, man. Pause this video, go listen to that song. It is a good one. All right, so back to the city here. Obviously, we have our last 2 pieces of mythology to put down for this final build session. So Demeter here was the first. I figure we could have her near all of the dairies because she'll bless other, you know, food buildings, and she can bless our wheat again. Demeter might be a little bit boring because we've seen a bit of her in recent episodes, but across the whole LP, she was absent for a while. So I think that this is a nice choice. I gave her a little bit of a space for beautification, some path movement, and this actually turns out to be a pretty good move because with our like giga housing block like fully evolving now, that granary is struggling, and by the end of this we want to get 10k population, so I'm going to do another housing block. Now there are actually lots of little meadowlands splashed around in this map, and I do utilize some for some additional little farms around, but having that massive bread basket I think is very useful. Also some walls and towers near the entrance of the town over there. Technically, the actual wall is nearer to the housing block, as we've seen. So that's more of just like a forward post, like a little extra bonus military post somewhere. And I decided, okay, let's put in the last bits of appeal here to evolve these guys. While I'm doing that, I get our pop-up for our next quest.
I need a favor from you.
Hello, my little wheel of cheese. What a good intro. Aphrodite simply must have the golden apples of the Hesperides, which are guarded by a fierce monster. Only Hercules is capable. Hello, Hercules. So Hercules wants the gym access and all that. So he wants competitors. So he can't really live out in the back rooms either. We're only going to have one place out there now. Oh, look, I put this foundry here. Because I figured low appeal anyway. Nobody cares about appeal up here anyway. And they have a pretty quick route past the north of the infirmary over the parks to actually mine some stuff. And by the way, I did also put some armories at the front as well, you see. There are armories that he can sanctify, but he loves visiting Aphrodite. I mean, I don't blame him. I'd love visiting her too. Look at that. But, you know. Okay, so Hercules, believe it or not, could actually live on this road down here near the quarry. And that would be fine because all of the culture walkers walk all the way along this entire road. It's kind of amazing actually to see how far they go. He would have his culture. And I feel like that's sort of what I got to do. He can't be on this area here because competitors won't go here. It's actually amazing. Usually Hercules, we feel really stuck next to the stadium, but this time I'm spoiled for choice, sort of. So yeah, let's put him down here, I guess. And it's nicely centered. We can surround him with a bit of appeal. Okay, welcome to the town Hercules. And I think when we right-click, he should be good. It says low access so far, but that's because people haven't passed him just yet. I'm pretty sure he will. Also, for everything mythological and pretty on this one, I'm using Corinthian columns. I feel like Corinthian column is the one type of column in the past 10 episodes or so I started using less of. So we've got to get the balance back, you know. Look at all this Doric I have around all these industrial areas. Okay, so there you go. So that's Hercules. Excellent citywide gymnasium access, and we only have good coverage. Ugh. But what about this bonus monument here that I still have? Gymnasium here that I still have? Oh, is it because I don't have an extra one up here now? I guess it is. Oh, also, I've cut off access from someone from Greece. All right, well, I'll deal with these issues. Yeah, so the extra gym that I usually would have put to feed the stadium up there and we ended up ripping out, I'm going to need to re-add, which is tough because cutting people off from the inner, you know, there's this huge area inside of the V that you would really think, everyone has very good access to. Oh my God, the euphemisms. And yet, it's really tricky to build there because it can cut people off at a moment's notice. So anyway, a gym up there. Also, Hercules wants his own gym. Because, you know, what I haven't been thinking about are the athletes. The competitors, fine, whatever, but the athletes themselves. There's actually a problem with my elite housing block right now as well, which I have to deal with. I haven't discovered it just yet. But we need to put more gyms around. It's not enough to just have the competitor for them if we want to go all the way up to horse companies. Anyway, so yeah, beautifying that whole area and another Heroes Hall. That's Hercules done. That's going to give us our next really, really pretty cool looking monument. Here I'm just mousing around, checking that everything's in order, and I'm interested in the fact some of our elite houses still haven't evolved off of the first level. That means they're looking for armor. So I rip out the back of this distribution area to give them their dedicated armor bay, which we've talked about a few times. So that's just going to be getting armor all on its own, because if you look, the armor vendor himself was actually not doing anything just there. But I think the other thing that was really going on with this was we don't produce that much armor right now, and I actually just start straight up importing it. If you look at our drachma, we're over 100,000 already. There's another issue as well, and that's horses. The horse vendor apparently is too far away from those stables, which is just crazy to me because it's just down the neighborhood. I mean, it's right there. So I have to get rid of all of those, which essentially means killing the horses in doing so, because, you know, they don't exist as their own commodity. You don't sell horses, you don't transport them around roads, which more and more watching this, I kind of wish you could. I actually had the idea at this point that by the end of this city, I want to station our cavalry all around so that we see horses doing things. It would be so cool if you could make, you know, your static forces, when you put banners around, patrol, just like triremes. Imagine being able to do that with cavalry. So you see the cavalry marching through the town. You get to see more of that horse animation as it moves, even outside of the combat, which, as we know, is kind of sporadic. And you know what? That's a totally reasonable and cool idea I've had there, because, you know, the game, you might think, well, where would they patrol? How do they do that? Well, they already have all this pathing and walker logic built into the game. They could just slap one of the existing AI packages, like how the gods move. They follow roads, but not roadblocks. And there you go. You have patrolling forces. So yeah, I create a stable area across the road, and I like this. We're now moving on to the south, which is where I'll have the fortress in the end. Fortress is really good near military stuff, and I realize, well, triremes as well. If we want absolutely everything here, triremes need to be available. So I have one storage bay for wheat, and the other two split between wood and armor, even more armor, you see. And yeah, it's nice. It's like the north bank of the river is our actual troops. The south bank is the navy and is, you know, the production for the horses. So I really loved how that all ended up lining up straddling the river. And this is the maximum number of triremes as well, which is good because this was about the most number of spots that I could find spaces for. I think this is one of those rare maps as well where you can in theory put piers everywhere and trireme wharfs everywhere, and you'll be okay. Here I'm going to as much length as I can to make this look pretty and square it all off nicely. So a little bit of park. That's actually park being placed in the, like, the null zone, the zero appeal area that I talked about with those buildings from before. So it's essentially completely irrelevant. It's just to make it look good. And I like a little bit of greenery near that building since there's so much brown, you know. Oh yeah, this final trireme. Do you know what? As I was building this, I was thinking to myself, we could have put two triremes next to each other, but I'm full here. Right before I built that, I was remarking to myself, man, I've been really good with maintenance here. Nothing's accidentally broke. And then that did, because I forgot I put it over there. Okay, let's do this a little bit live. So Aphrodite's request. Aphrodite wanted Hercules, so let's send her. We're going to have so many heroes here. So let's go get the apples of Hesperides. That'll give us our next thing. That'll be an Aphrodite statue here in the middle.
Congratulations, my cute little urchin. You have completed my quest.
Oh, I didn't realize how badly I wanted to be called a cute little urchin by her. Beautiful. I just love the golden apples. Thank you. So we've done that now, which gives us a large Aphrodite statue. So if I kill the columns there... Oh, this will fit. We are just in line without having to move that theatre to get all three in the center here. And I know that looks a bit crap right now, but when we fill in all this no man's land, it will probably look good as well. So, okay, here we go, Aphrodite. These are so nervy and scary because you just... Once you click, that's it. It's over, you know. Boom. Okay, cool. So we got two of them next to each other now. This is an effect I have not accomplished at all, which is really ironic because of how I'm going to end this episode. You're going to see the same thing again. Anyway, right, let's continue along. Well, we're getting pretty close to the completion of the town now, really. We got our third statue coming in, but of course there is the palace and the fortress, which I thought would be the first thing that I'd be doing today, but ended up being one of the later things. By the way, I think we just won the Nemean games again. My contests, actually, I start losing them now. I don't win so many, and I think that's because some of the elite houses don't have all the culture they want, so our rates are different. I'm not too sure. Anyway, so my dream here is to have a fortress with a wall around it, with the hero Theseus. This is really the heart of the city that I'm building here now. Then a housing block around the whole thing, and then another wall around it. And so that's going to take a lot of space, but I also want the fortress to still have this cool courtyard effect, so I can station some cavalry in there, and we'll actually be able to see them through the walls, through the towers, and all the tall buildings and stuff. So, you know, I was kind of daring here with the space, but we got a really nice big field. So there's our inner area. Appeal was a bit of a bitch, though. I really thought that just putting that monument nearby would be good enough for Theseus, but no, he wants a bunch more. Even all of these benches aren't good enough. Then I rotate the view, and I add some bonus parks, and they're not good enough. I think in the end, what I'm going to actually have to do is rip one of these whole walls up and move it in on the inside. But weirdly enough, while I'm building this statue to Theseus, we're actually going to get attacked. Hermes is going to lay an attack down on us. Hermes isn't even possible here, by the way. He was one of the angry gods. And it's this.
You have angered me for the last time. Minotaur, go destroy some buildings.
Why is everything so quotable? Go destroy some buildings. Okay, where is the Minotaur? Oh my god, I thought he was hitting our foundries for a second there. Do you know what? We could put a couple more of those down. We need a lot of workers, though. I'm going to get this last employment wave in. Anyway, here he is. So he's over here. He might just be getting killed straight away, actually. Who is it that kills the Minotaur? Is it Theseus? Theseus and the Minotaur? So we're actually in the process of building him here. It doesn't look like anyone's going to hunt him. I don't see any heroes on their way. Okay, so let's finish this haul here. Damn picky bastard, needing all this good appeal. You know, it's weird. I was really stuck with the appeal when I was originally looking at it. I couldn't figure out the best way to do it. But after I looked away at the Minotaur and looked back, I realized, oh, this is really easy. Just move the wall. There's something about walls, that once they're up, I feel like they're just, you know, these things that can't be shifted. Anyway, so we have parks on the inside. I like this idea of park around the front door as well. And then we open into a housing block at long last on the next row. And I think the ultimate effect looks really nice here with the entrance. Here we are, the big man himself, Theseus, coming to his home. And that is a pretty fancy house. You know, we've done it before with Boulevard and Avenue. But I think that's quite a nice effect. So now he should be off to slay the Minotaurs straight away. Probably walking a really wild way on his route. Oh, no, actually, he's just going to go direct because he doesn't even need a raft. He could just wade through those. What is the idea? He's massive. Oh, look at our patrolling trireme here compared to mere mortal men. Oh, we could shut down some mints as well for this employment. I could also just send the trireme workers home. But I don't want to do that. That's probably the thing to do, actually, isn't it? Especially since it's so easy in the military tab. So we can just... Oh, no. I wanted to watch the fight. Go. We're going to return to the fight. Oh, where's the Minotaur? There it is.
I will trample anyone in my path.
So down goes the Minotaur. Now, his quest... Oh, we crashed! Oh my god, and I don't know when I last saved. Oh my god. All of that time playing this, and I've never crashed, and I don't know when I last saved. Oh my god, I wonder where we end up. Oh, we're not very far away at all. I wonder if I just broke the audio engine. Oh my god. I was really worried about that there. I was really worried that this entire, like, 40 minutes I'd have to rebuild, and whatever I did, it wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't be the same as before. Man, you know, guys, it has been a long time since I've made a video and I've been able to edit in a technical difficulties thing. I swear I had one in a folder that I used to always use, but I cannot find it on my PC. I think it was from The Simpsons. Anyway, so I just grabbed another one off of Google there. Here, that last tower on the back flank is really clever, by the way, the way I managed to sneak just a tiny bit of path out onto it, which I was very happy with. Actually, there was some clever tower work over near the agriculture area as well. So none of this is measured out. I have no idea how many houses I'm going to get. All I know is that I want to put a bit of avenue on this, and probably 2 agoras is what's going to be necessary. So I'll have 1 agora like near the entrance, 1 at the reverse side, and you know, just throw down as many houses as possible. The game here is get a bit more employment for the actual gameplay, but also I want to get to the 10k population threshold again. You know, if this is going to be as good as Olympia, then at least that number of people need to live here. I'm going to get slightly over 10k in the end. I don't know by how much. I don't know ultimately which town had slightly more people, Olympia or this. I don't know, maybe if you guys go back or someone can say in the comments exactly what it was. Oh yeah, I was really satisfied with the construction of this storage distribution area behind the Agora, like how tightly everything came in. I even did a bit of live commentary about it. I was so thrilled. Oh my god, I just got to say, look how perfect that is. Oh my god, that is some dense city building right there. Holy crap. And so technically you can see I've arrayed my buildings in an interesting way here. I've gone Agora and then like infirmary next to it. And then, you know, on either side, every building possible. Tax, watch post, maintenance, all that just like spiraling out the fountain. And I'm thinking that's really nice. Here I go with the Agora. Instead of on the outside, we go on the inside because I want it. We're not right next to this bonus meadow here. And I'm going to put a little bit of agriculture there. So I shifted the Agora slightly so that I'd make sure I actually have enough space. And I think that this is brilliant. They're all going to evolve. But again, actually, we do need to find a place for some culture. So I'll have to look back at that in a second. Here, I think, wow, there's this cool, really quiet exit to the city with a bit of bonus agriculture. Let's put this gatehouse here. And it can go right up against the granary area. How cool is that? The gatehouse itself acts as a road blocker. Funnily enough, though, that gatehouse and that ramp, it leads nowhere. It leads to like two little pieces of meadow where maybe I could put some animals, but there's no route. We actually need a gatehouse over here near these steps, which I've drawn in for these guys. And yeah, you know, just a couple of wheat farms. I take the time to beautify it. A couple of carding sheds. Olive oil will just shift from, you know, the other area of the city since we have so goddamn much of it. And I'm pretty confident that everything will be nice here. There's a little bit of food here is useful because, again, I want... All the food currently is flowing through the mega block, and I do not want that to become unstable because people are pilfering too much food from elsewhere. So, with the outer row of houses done, we get to build the exterior wall, and this really turned out every way that I wanted it to. I had to rip up that one house in the corner there and do a little bit of zigzagging. Ah, but how satisfying. Everything comes together. We have space for a path on the outside. There is the massive forest over, you know, just up beyond the wall with a bunch of boar. And for the longest time, I was thinking, well, there's nothing really I want to do with those boar. But we have one more mythology thing. Artemis is someone that we've barely seen anything of. We want a bit of food in this area. So it also suddenly came together. I realized I can put Artemis next to this final area. And we can have hunters' lodges getting sanctified right there to feed the housing block. You know, that's amazing. The Minotaur was only just slain there. So I did all of this building in that time. You know, that's the power of building on pause. Yeah, and that whole time I was worried that audio bug would come back, and when the Minotaur would be slain, we would crash out. But we didn't, thankfully. This means, of course, we can do Dionysus's request now for Theseus. And I believe, so I've seen a post on Reddit that says the Dionysus statue is a little bit bugged. And I guess we will see if that bug hits us as we go along here. Now that, by the way, we've done the Hercules thing, we could get rid of this gym and find a way to evolve these last two houses. But what I'd rather do, now that we're importing armor, is I'd rather lift out these two foundries and replace them with gazebos or something. Oh, just removing the foundries was enough to make them evolve. There's also that guy, like, right on the inside there. Easy to miss. Easy to overlook in this bustling metropolis. But I see you there, sir. And I will evolve you with the mightiest of all decorations. Fish pond. What just broke? Oh, my God. Wait, why is that maintenance failed? Ugh. The goddamn Olympian maintenance guys are so stupid. It's unreal. You're right next to these farms. Ugh, what a dumbass. I really like this back entrance to the city here. It feels so remote and so quiet, and just this vibe of a couple of little parks and a humble little entrance to this massive city. It's really nice. And just the sheep out here. These guys seem close, but are actually really quite far away. We've used a lot of the southern mountains now.
I raise my cup to you, mortal. You have completed my quest.
Aha! So there's our last quest done. So hold on. Gym, podium... And then over in the other corner, we'll want a gym and a college. Sorry to the people that have to move out here. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Poor planning. That was all it was. Oh, hold on. Mind you, if we put the podium... If we put the college here and the podium over there, we don't have to rip anyone else out because this is just beautification stuff. It's really hard to see, but it's true that it's just beautification. So college there and then podium over here. So that should fully evolve everyone, assuming The lecturers come down the south road, and then these guys hit the top. You might find these guys lose a little bit of culture. I guess we'll just see. Anyway, so the quest is complete. This is our last statue. Now let's see if we can get this bug. The bug was, well, here we go. So large Dionysus, the 3 gods of this town. Ugh, we don't quite have. Oh no, it cut people off from Greece. Hold on. Yeah, if we put something there, it's gonna cut them off. So he'd have to be offset. So I would also, like, back a bit. So I'd also do Hephaestus back a bit, because that would make it even. But Hephaestus can't do that. We can't get him back if we delete him. So we have a conundrum. We are going to devolve anyone in this little quarter. Okay, so the conundrum can be solved by moving this last gym, which Hercules wanted for the coverage, but otherwise wasn't really necessary. So if we get rid of that gym, they now have an entrance through the gym there. We might be able to see this maintenance guy is already as shoved in as possible. We could we could move the infirmary over one, and everyone comes over by one. But let's just for now, let's put him in. No one's cut off from Greece, right? Thank you for the gift of wine. Okay, good. Everybody's okay now. So then we'll surround it with columns as best we can. Here we are, 3 gods. Now, a guy said on Reddit that he looked away, and then when he looked back... So when we right-click it, it literally says...
What other god will join you in the hunt?
After you delivered the horn to Dionysus, he rewarded you with this grand monument. He said that he looked away, and when he looked back, it randomly became a Zeus statue at one point. It might have been saving and reloading, so let's try that. Let's save Troezan Crash. Let's load Troezan Crash. No, he's still Dionysus, so I don't know how that happened, but he ended up with a statue to Zeus. There was these 2 plus Zeus, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so with that done, I just want to have a quick look. I haven't checked for ages. Yeah, Demeter is finished, and she's sanctifying our farms. That's beautiful. As for our last god, well, Zeus we've done loads of. I don't even know if I have space. Artemis we've barely seen. We just did Hades at the other town, so let's do Artemis. And we do have a good amount of hunting. And look, there's even... Oh my god, there's more meadow here. I didn't even realise. So let's have... Well, look, there's a bunch of boar to be hunted just near our new housing block over here. So what if we squeeze Artemis in here? That means all the gods are in nice different areas, and we have hunting lodges around her. I really like that. Let's do that. Oh yeah, and we don't even have to delete the trees, as I mentioned in that previous tidbit. So, and, you know, if I rotate her twice so she's facing towards the river in the center of the city, I think I'd prefer that effect. Nice. This thing where you could have all the mythology, all the temples, all facing the river, and maybe all the bonus quest statues as well, all also facing the river, would probably look really awesome. You know, since... You know, you'd look at a town like this and you'd think the river is the center of everything. It's actually kind of not. A lot of our trade is regular trading posts, and you know, it's not like we're fishing or getting urchins from it. So yeah, there you go. I left the back of Artemis's place filled with woodlands. Like, I'm not actually chopping down the forest. That feels like fitting to me. Like, she'd probably like the actual trees to be there, like the boar hunting grounds. Instead of just turfing it all up and turning it into park, why not let's leave it? Next little project was elites again, because as I say, a bunch of them weren't evolving at this point. Half of them like wanted more appeal, so fish ponds solved that, and these are kind of like slapped down and around, don't get me wrong. This definitely could have ended up looking a lot better. You know, it's just when you get all that money, you just end up throwing fish ponds everywhere, what can I say? And then the other thing I'm now realizing is, yeah, they needed their own local gyms, so I do something kind of cheaty and crazy here. Where I had a tax office on the end before, I instead put a gym, so that now they have athletes passing by. And then over at the other entrance of the city, again, where I had a tax office, I'm going to end up putting a gym for, like, the middle houses as well, so that they all fully evolve. That means that the elites in this town live tax-free. Here it is. Look, I'm going to rip it up now and get rid of those lovely columns, which I liked before, but we can replace them. So yeah, the entrance of the city now is no longer right next to a tax office, it's next to a gym. But, you know, I'm asking these people to fight and to die for us, so, you know, maybe they get to live tax-free. Maybe that's your little perk there. And this is kind of the town complete. You see, all of our townhouses have evolved beautifully. I fill in some of the last areas that I see little gaps out there, you know, where there hadn't been a bit of beautification. The last sanctuary gets built incredibly quickly. There's also the matter of beautifying inside here, and I immediately go with columns, because I think, okay, we'll do something to vary up the look. But if I put anything that's not park there, we cut people off. So it's just a massive parkland in the middle of the V now. And here I am putting my banners around. Oh, this town, guys. What a town. I'm going to summon horses so that they'll just, like, defend various key areas. Since I'm not actually planning on sending them out to attack anyone here, so that they can guard the entrance here with Theseus. And that's going to prompt me now. I was just so happy with this to do the last bit of commentary. Oh, I think this is it. I think I'm going to cut back in now. I just saw Hercules walk through the gatehouse after... not Hercules, Theseus, the hero of this town, walked through the gatehouse after out being amongst the commoners. It made me so happy. These are all in full swing. The final mythological temple is finished now here as well, and we've already had some of these hunting lodges being sanctified. And yeah, people are moving in. There's our 10k population milestone. A mark seen only by the most successful of cities. And we get a commemorative monument. It's a totally bog-standard population monument, but let's put it... I mean, we don't need it anywhere, so I've parked the inside here, because I might have already mentioned this on the Super Speed commentary, because that's really the only thing I can do without cutting off access to Greece from people. Yeah, let's have one last plaza right here to this population monument. I've put, you know, soldiers around... Oh, so good. Oh, we got to staff this last trip. Well, hold on. There might be a couple we need to staff here. So crew all triremes. And let's get them all out on patrol. That guy and that guy. And there you have it. That's Troezan, the ultimate city. All mythology, all industry, 10k population, ludicrous amounts of cash that we could never have to worry about. One of my favorite housing block designs, featuring a double wall ring, finally, which is the first time we managed to do this. I think last time we had only the one wall. Sanctifiable buildings next to all the commodities, next to all the gods that want them. Gods that aren't clustered in weird places. Trade next to all the proper exports. All the exports going. There's one big, beautiful housing block here. Oh, we should have put the monument in there, because look, that guy hasn't evolved. Oh, that one guy. Oh, and there's a guy over there as well. Anyway, in a completely nuts housing block. Our elites steadily evolving as they get their horses, as you can see here. Lots of two-story buildings coming in. It's annoying. I think this third horse ranch is out of range. So he's only pulling from these two, which means he's going like one horse at a time. And given everything else I said... Oh, sorry, did I send you guys back to the place? I want you to patrol. Given what I said about slow rearming, yeah, it's a slow neighborhood. But look at it, what a neighborhood it is. I love even this house over here, like way off in the distance. Fully evolved. And yeah, there you have it. Two gods up here. All the walls being manned. A hero walking around here. A beautiful agriculture district. Ah, I'm very happy with Troezan. I'm very happy. Plenty of armor. And even out in these remote areas, we have our miners quarrying and working away. Whew. So there you have it, guys. And this was about, all told, about 3.5 hours probably to build this. Maybe slightly under. Now, what I want to do is, this housing block is pretty nuts. And here you can actually see, look. These guys lost their fleece here. The very tips have this weird instability. In 3 months, they'll get their fleece and they'll re-evolve and they'll come back up. And it should find its stability. Maybe I needed a twin storehouse thing. So the whole way through this Let's Play, I've been kind of building towards this design. But there are better ones in terms of more houses, 1 agora. And so what I want to show you now as a bit of a bonus is the best I currently believe is supported. Troezan, here we go, is supported by the game engine. So I don't really need to give you a whole big long description of how it might work. You already know all the principles at play with this. To go even crazier than this, we can return to the figure of 8. And you remember the diamond design we did? There is a way of building a double diamond. You have a diamond on the left for like the quadruple housing block on the left, and then he figures of 8 out into another diamond. But they are blocks, so you like close the tips. Now, I would build that for you guys. However, there's not really a great schematic for this online. Basically, all these designs came out around 2001, 2002. Years went by, and in like 2009, a guy came along, I think it was 2009, and he said, hey, here's this double diamond. For what it's worth, in 2017, another guy came along and said, I can fit like fucking crazy amounts of people into one housing block, but he never actually proved it, so who knows whether he's telling the truth. But the double diamond design is 10,000 people in a single housing block. One housing block. And so there's not really a schematic for it online, but there are save files. So as a special treat here, I will show you, this is a hosted save file from online that I've downloaded and put into my game. Now, the downside, and one of the reasons I haven't built this, is that this is a Poseidon scenario. Okay, so little teaser here, I guess, and a little spoiler for the Poseidon expansion, of which I'm largely unfamiliar. You're going to see a lot of weird stuff here. Different buildings, different houses, and all kinds of stuff. I don't want that to detract from the fact that really what I just want to show off is the housing block. And here's the thing. I don't know 100% whether it works in base Zeus. So all I really have is this save file to show it off. But you guys know the principle. So here we go. So let's look at this guy's Alexandria Diamonds. And this town is not really much of a town. It's just to show the housing block off. So you can already see weird things going on with the appeal. These are obelisks, and they do not exist. These tall obelisks, they have like immense appeal, but only in a short area. They don't actually exist in Zeus. And the culture and stuff, if we have a look at these buildings over here, yeah, things are kind of crazy, right? These don't exist in Zeus. Also here, look, you can see the big god monuments. This is like what I was talking about, see? So anyway, this here, if you look at the mini-map, look at this giant design here. This is the double diamond. We have one agora. Now, the best way to show this, look how absolutely insane this is. One agora here in the center, and as much appeal as they can get around it, I suppose. And the agora will patrol the peddler. So if we say see distribution, wherever he might be right now, the peddler, you can see these houses are just running out now. And where the hell is the peddler? Oh, he's here. He's here. There you go. Just underneath my cursor here. He's delivering. So he's coming back to the agora here. And then, so he just serviced the north block right now. Then when he goes in, he'll come and he'll service the south block. And you can see that this town here has 11,700 people living in it. But this is it. This is the entire town. Just these townhouses here. And this apparently is rock solid stable. Really nuts. So this, I currently believe, is the biggest supported by the engine, this 11,700. If anyone knows any bigger, and particularly just in Zeus, let me know. You know, I've been building to the big V shape, but I did want to show, you know, more stuff is possible with just some of these insane cities that people build. And so here you can see he's creeping through somewhere deep down here. And yeah, the buildings are different houses and stuff. Let's not get too distracted with that. Also, check out what he's done. I don't know whether this is necessary, but look at this just insane row of monuments along the outside here. So there you go, guys. That's the third and final bonus video and the end of the bonus videos for the whole Let's Play. Thank you very much for watching me building Troezan and this little sneak peek of someone's Alexandria here. And join me next time for the final episode of the whole series, where we will return to Ithaca, our Olympian difficulty final adventure where we accepted no handouts. We did accept gifts. We never requested gifts. And we'll finish it up. And I've got some fun little ideas for how we're going to end it all. Thanks, guys. Your viewership through this whole thing has meant the world to me. I assume if you're here at this point, you've been enjoying the show. So yeah, thank you, everybody. And I'll see you for the big grand finale next time. Take care now. What a city this is. I mean, this is just crazy. Look at this. Oh, so here we are. This is it. This is the final bonus section for voice audio. I have been editing a lot of these in for a long time now. We've got through so many. Do you know what? I've actually cut out a hell of a lot of Poseidon stuff as well. Like the archers in Poseidon are female and they all have different voices and stuff. Oh my god, there's so much. Anyway, and obviously the whole culture swap. Anyway, there is one hero that we never did the whole time. It was the hero that never got his own adventure, but he did finally get a town here at the end in the sequel to Open Play Sandbox. It's Theseus. So, for one final hurrah, here's Theseus's lines and his 2 pieces of concept art for the Caledonian Boar and the Minotaur, which are the 2 things that he fights. Both beasts, I now realise, as I say this into the microphone.
Hygiene here is poor. With the help of the healer and some food, they might yet recover. I can't believe this city would let a hero go hungry. There really aren't enough jobs here. This never happened when I ran Athens. Theseus living in a vassal city? Unthinkable. I live here if I have to, but nothing compares to my Athens. A good leader would never provoke trouble.
See you guys for the finale next time.
Has anyone seen my spear? How can I be a spear carrier without my spear?